So cheers to you all for being here tonight. Thank you for being just a part of this community, for getting to know each other. And now I'll pass it over to Rafael, who will choose tonight's moderator for the stars of the night, our panel.
Hey everybody. Some of you guys may recognize me from last time. For those of you guys that don't know, we've got some really interesting people that are involved in this state in all different areas. So I want to bring up some of these guys that we can talk to today. We've got Amir Berenjian, obviously Rep 5. He's the CEO. He's a Minnesota-based agency here that empowers its partners with emerging technologies like AR, VR, Web3, metaverse. We'll define those later. Amir's a global thought leader in designing, creating, and implementing immersive technology at scale. You guys want to just give me a hand for the guy who made this possible tonight in space. For those of you guys that are familiar with our sports teams, Chris is the Senior Director of Innovation and Growth for the Minnesota Twins Baseball Club. In this role, he uses sports as a platform to expand the boundaries of human experience. While pushing the Twins to set the standard for innovation in sports and entertainment, Iles has long been instrumental in introducing and integrating new fan engagement technologies, including the first metaverse activation in professional sport. Let's do a round of applause for that. You want to just pick that out of this. It did do the Twins XR in partnership with our favorite local XR innovation studio, Rep 5, back in 2021. Chris helped launch and currently provides oversight for the Twins Accelerator TechStars, a collaborative venture that invests in 10 early-stage tech startups on an annual basis. It's the first of its kind in Minnesota sports, and just the second such venture to be partnered and funded by a Major League Baseball club. Ben's a manager at Deloitte Consulting in blockchain and digital assets team. He works with numerous clients to define and implement their blockchain strategy.
What's important here is probably definitions. If I say metaverse, does everybody have a general idea of what I mean? All right, let's clarify a couple things first. Chris, working in sports, right? Ben works in blockchain at a professional level. Amir builds and designs spaces in real life and in virtual reality. To give us an idea of what the sports industry views blockchain as, things like NFT or Web3 or metaverse, can you define, to give us an anchoring point of what the rest of the night's going to look like?
Yeah, I like the approach here. Ask the guy that knows the least about it to define it up front, so we're kind of setting a low bar. You know, we talked about this before. You know, we'll start with blockchain. I like to define things in their simplest terms. Blockchain is just the plumbing or the infrastructure upon which the next iteration of the internet is going to be built, the decentralized internet. Web3 to me is kind of the all-encompassing term that contains everything from blockchain to NFTs to cryptocurrency. I think crypto is one of the terms you wanted me to define. It's just the currency upon which everything runs. And I think the fourth one was metaverse, right? And that one is a little bit tougher, but it's a meta representation of our universe. To me, it's a parallel universe that exists virtually.
Amir, you want to take a stab at it?
Say the question?
It's pronounced metaverse.
Metaverse. The company Meta? Mark Zuckerberg? Sorry. I don't have much to add. That was great. Well done. Did you practice? Did you study ChatGPT? So I guess the only thing I'd add to it, like a more holistic view of the metaverse, a much broader definition, could be, not saying everyone needs to agree with this, but could be any human connection enabled by technology. So under that definition, a text message could be a version of the metaverse. Our existing social media platforms that we utilize on our phones, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, is a version of the metaverse. And we're on the doorstep of embarking upon this next iteration of what it looks like to connect as humans with technology. And that's where we get two more buzzwords introduced to the equation, and that's virtual reality and augmented reality. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but those as like access points to this tech-enabled human connection.
Just the one thing that I would add is, everyone in here, I know we have some skeptics, but by and large, we're Web3 blockchain believers, and decentralization is a key part to that. I can see myself, if we define Web3 as the next era of the decentralized internet, I can see myself, 5 years, 10 years in the future on the stage questioning, have we truly achieved Web3? And so I think what's important to think about in that construct is if centralization happens, because centralization will happen, there will be vectors of centralization that arises in this new era of the internet, but that centralization happens because of consumer choice, not internet primitives that were designed to share information rather than exchange value. So it is fundamentally unique what the technology enables, but there will still be areas of centralization where some of the dogma exists for good reason, but there is a middle ground on the spectrum of decentralized to centralized.
So one of the things that tonight makes very clear is there needs to be an interaction layer with the technology, whether it's your phone, or a headset, or a desktop, or a large screen. This question is for you, Amir. If you could sort of give us an idea of what the next iterations of the interfaces are going to look like between, I'll call it XI, right? The extended reality of both the AR and the VR, because I have an Oculus. I've used it, I've done some events, but I can't see myself doing that on a consistent basis. What is that interaction going to look like going forward from someone who is native to the space?
We don't have enough time for all of that. But stepping back, who in the room has tried virtual reality via a headset, dedicated headset?
Who all has tried it out around 5?
Woo! That's pretty good. Who all has tried augmented reality through a mobile device? All right, we're getting there. And keep your hands up if you've tried augmented reality through a headset. Cool. So, VR has been this concept. We have view masters sitting around, right, as a fun tip of the hat to this tech and this concept, or the thesis around virtual reality and immersive technology has been around for 100 years. And really what happened in 2016 with Oculus launching their latest hardware in HTC set off this kind of arms race on the hardware side. 2016, it's now 2023. We're still struggling with that friction point, like you just said, right? You own a headset, which is a big barrier to get a headset into somebody's home.
I'm still picking up.
Still picking up. It's been a tough year in crypto, I know. But we have to solve this. It's cliche, I know, but we have to solve this because there's a lot of this in Web3 as well. But if we bifurcate these two worlds, metaverse and Web3, we have to solve this friction value proposition ratio problem. Even myself, I live in the space every day, I have all the coolest toys, and if I go to pull out my headset and it's not charged or it needs a software update, and I have to deal with that, I better really need to get in there to have the patience to overcome that level of friction. So on the VR side, we've come a long way. The hardware is getting better and better and better, but the user needs to have a lot of value before they can put it on. We're still pre-iPhone, basically. So I think the numbers are, if I get these numbers wrong, somebody feel free to yell and not correct me, but I think Oculus sold 10 million units last year, roughly. And at the same time, there were 1.1 billion smartphones shipped last year. To put things in perspective, right? If we do think that VR/AR/XR hardware is the next computing platform in which we interact with the internet, like mobile is, that's the gap right now. 10 million versus 1.1 billion. It's a big gap. And it's a lot of chicken and egg with the hardware and the software. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about the future on that. I think this year is going to be I don't think anything's going to happen this year that moves the needle from a VR and AR hardware standpoint. We'll mention the name Apple. There's been a lot of rumors over the last couple of years. Non-stop rumors. We'll believe it when we see it at this point. But that's going to be a pretty profound milestone for our spaces. They're a company rooted in user experience and taking that friction out that we all sit here and complain about all day, every day. I can't remember what your actual question was, but hopefully that helped.
That's good. We're here to ramble on some things. One of the thoughts, you mentioned the crypto winter. Anybody down? I just didn't want to feel alone. The market sentiment has started to change a little bit from, say, 18 months ago. NFT summer, people are building play to earn, metaverse as a service. Again, to you, Amir, and then I'm going to pass over to Chris, and then we'll go to Ben. In terms of market sentiment, does it match crypto, or is there a different feel entirely based on the conversation you and I had about things like Stable Diffusion, ChatGPT, DALL-E? Are any of these affecting your industry in any way?
Yes and no. I mean, we play at Rem 5, our little pocket of the world is not games or earn to play or rooted in Web3. We're more focused on how do we create social experiences and how do we deliver content, primarily for enterprise. And for them, all the Web3 conversation, the crypto winter, all of that, that's just kind of like noise that isn't really related to using 3D internet platforms that connect humans and create more engaging experiences than a YouTube video or a Zoom call. So while I think it gets caught up in the mix, if we're very careful about bifurcating what these things are and what roles they play, you find really quickly that they're actually pretty separate and can live separately from each other for the time being.
I'm going to tailor the question a little bit. Chris, post your XR activation with Rem 5 and the Twins, what has the feeling been, the sentiment been from the people who were maybe not familiar with the technology layering into sports? I don't want to say boomer, but for the people who maybe don't understand why XR was important for you guys to do, what has their feeling been post maybe some bad press with FTX, or if somebody's familiar with John Carmack having left Meta from the VR side? Are they concerned about if you will continue to do things like this or not?
I would say our fans are totally unaware of everything you just talked about there. The way we talk about this stuff in these activations is we try to strip all the technology talk out of it, because frankly it's a barrier to the people that we're trying to get to use it. I mean, we are very fortunate that we have a platform in which to use to get people to adopt technology, like we did with the Twins XR activation. I guess I'll just back up real quick and talk about that for a second, just to level set. So, almost 3 years ago now, Amir invited me and a partner of mine over here to Rem 5, and basically introduced us to the metaverse. I had never seen it before. I thought we were coming over here to see a VR activation, and frankly, I was kind of pissed about it because, I've seen it, but no, I had not seen it. Amir showed me something that was a really unique shared experience. At the time, we were trying to figure out a way to bring fans in. This is in the middle of the pandemic. We were just canceling our second in a row Fan Fest, which is our biggest annual fundraiser for the Twins Community Fund. People are totally burned out on virtual events, right? So we're like, what can we do that's actually going to bring people together using technology and help us replace this in-person event that has been a staple of our business? And in comes Amir and says, check this out, look what we can do with this technology here. Fast forward 7-8 months, we built out what has now become the first metaverse experience in professional sport. And it was so early on that the term metaverse had not been dropped by Mark Zuckerberg yet. It's not a part of the zeitgeist. And so I would say that activation was early, it was ahead of its time. But I think the amount that we learned and the benefits that we've reaped from that, a lot of them intangible, and nothing we could have foreseen, made that well worth it. I mean, it's like I get to say we did the first metaverse activation in professional sport, and that meant nothing at the time. It means a lot more today. So long story short, kind of a roundabout way of saying we didn't tell fans that we're going into the metaverse because that it didn't really exist, and it was scary. And so we try to strip any kind of technological jargon out of it. Not that this is jargon, but we try to keep it technology neutral and focus it on really the human experience. I forgot who said that earlier, but like humans are at the center of this thing, and really everything we do in the space at the Minnesota Twins, the fans are at the center of it. So if it's not in service to the fan, and a lot of this technical jargon is not in service to the fan, we try to omit it from how we're talking about it and omit it from the experience altogether.
Then I'm going to toss the same question to you, and then I'm actually going to open it up to the audience. If any of you guys come across some questions, if you want to just raise your hand, we have no problem interacting. The whole point of this is to have a dialogue, right? To have a conversation. Ben, you're frontline in the legacy organizations who are talking about this in the executive offices, in the front offices in sports, in interns. People are going, okay, how is this going to change going forward? Deloitte has published some really good reports and some research. What is the field from you personally, and then Deloitte sort of as a, not to speak for Deloitte, but from a corporate outlook, what do you guys see going forward?
Definitely. So first things first, for me personally, the fall hit me a little bit, kind of hard, and the reason is, for lack of a better term, I have attached a piece of my identity to this technology. And so that's in the flows of the market can affect me on an emotional level. But I'll start with the silver lining and then talk about kind of the impact that we're seeing from clients. And the silver lining is speculation as a use case is in hibernation right now. And I think that is phenomenal for product market fit, right? It is fun to speculate on a token price. Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter. I'm going to load up on some Doge and let's get that stuff into it, right? But that obviously isn't the real economic activity and the core tenets of the technology that are beneficial. And so from an enterprise perspective and from an overall Deloitte client portfolio perspective, we're still seeing just as much interest in cross-functional and cross-industry use cases. Supply chain continues to be a great use case, and it all gets down to kind of the core tenets of why you would actually use a blockchain to begin with, right? Is there a need for shared data? Do multiple writers need to write to that database? Is there low trust amongst the participants of the ecosystem, and is there opportunities for disintermediation? We're going back to the core principles of what made me fall in love with the technology. And so when I took my walks in the rain pontificating, did I pick the right career path, or am I literally the meme where I'm putting the clown makeup on and going to work? And at the end of the day, the core tenets are still strong. We're seeing continued traction in kind of the loyalty space. Starbucks, as their loyalty program is going into the metaverse, right? That's usually the biggest loyalty program in the world. Life science and healthcare. There are some very cool things happening in the life science and healthcare space. Pfizer just joined Dow. I don't know if people saw that. That's pretty cool. Like in the attribution of data and how you can assign that to community members who want to fund, clinical research for rare disease. There's very impactful things that can happen from the disintermediation that continue to receive interest. And then lastly, to acknowledge the financial service industry and networks. So that has impacted financial services. But the impact isn't necessarily on why you would adopt. It's really around the narrative. And when we're in these boardrooms, the narrative that banks hear and feel is they are losing retail customer deposits to this digitally native asset class, and we're trying to figure out how to maintain that competitive advantage in the market. And so with the speculation bubble bursting a little bit, we're not hearing as much of that, but the broader trends of tokenization are still continuing, and they still will continue. I am not a maximalist in really any spectrum of my life. Tokenization might be the one area I can convince myself I'm a maximalist on. In the future, I envision everything that is unique to be represented as NFTs, and everything that is unique, that can be exchanged for value, will be exchanged via fungible tokens. And if you put both fungible tokens and NFTs into smart contracts, you can build really cool applications that are not possible to be built today. And that, I think, is why everyone in the room is here tonight and what we're all working towards. And it's a very exciting vision for me to work on, and I get up every day just excited about it.
Wow. All right. Let's bring it down. We are standing in what is an impressive building surrounded by phenomenal technology. What do you guys see as the main barriers, other than I've had a conversation with dozens of you this evening, and the translation of what we're doing, how it works, etc., has been brought up a number of times, right? If anybody's had an experience where someone's talked to them about the industry and they know more, and then you are totally lost because of the verbiage that they use, even though you're in the space, has anybody had that? I can't be the only one. You know, I work on projects across a number of different verticals. My question becomes, from muscle memory in different industries like VR, from sports applications, from big 5 firms integrating, what do you guys see as the biggest challenges going forward?
I mean, there's a lot of challenges. I think a couple of things. One is, I think we could all use a little bit of rebranding and positioning in all of these collective worlds. There's a lot of confusion out there. There's a lot of relating FTX to the metaverse and vice versa, and to virtual reality, to augmented reality, to AI. It's like, well, all these technologies are very related. They act independent of each other. But I think Chris hit on a really good point earlier, is that we just got to get back to focusing on the experience, the human experience, the value. Like, let's cut through all of the buzzwords and make it easy for people to use and easy to understand. That's a very simplistic way to look at it, but I think it rings true. You look at it, I can remember because Rafael brought up Starbucks, right? You look at Starbucks and their program that they launched. They don't use the word blockchain, they don't use NFT, they don't use Web3, and they don't use the word metaverse anywhere in any of their materials. They're solely focused on what value am I providing to our end user, our stakeholder. And we just need more of that, we need to be very conscious of that. But in order to pull that off, it takes a lot of smart people creating ecosystems that are really easy to use. And we're still early, but that's what's exciting about this year right now, after building these communities and getting a lot more people into our inner circle over the last couple of years. We're in a period of time now where it feels like we can breathe and start to build some of those tools that allow us to have the luxury of just focusing on the experience and letting the tech just disappear and fade into the background. And I think we all win here in this room when our end users or stakeholders aren't actually talking about the technology, they're just talking about the experience itself.
I'll be simple. I think the biggest challenge is going to be adoption, and I agree wholeheartedly with everything you just said. Adoption is only going to come when it becomes simple for average humans who are not super versed in the space to use the technology.
For mine, I'll say it's a coordination problem, specifically to blockchain. I'm a blockchain guy. The metaverse still scares me, confuses me, but I'm enlightened by Amir every time I talk to him. But it's a coordination problem, and at the end of the day, blockchain is just a governance technology. And I've seen it in the two different spectrums. We have permissionless blockchains, and we'll get somewhat technical, but this is still functional. But we have permissionless blockchains that can create native tokens for protocols, applications, and projects that use applications. And it's a great way to bootstrap the network. The problem that we've seen in some of these permissionless networks is it either isn't the right product, they've understated or overstated the market, or the team that was actually going to deliver the project after they bootstrapped the funds isn't the right people to push the product through. And on the enterprise or permission sort of blockchain angle, you see one of two things. And it's either companies who get together that have a great blockchain use case, and then they start to argue about how you're going to harvest the benefits from the use case before you've even built anything yet, or the permission blockchains that have got into production either have high enough barriers to entry or limited openness of the ecosystem where you're not allowing new users to adopt or new functionality to be built on top of the network. And that's the piece that I think we're going to start to see some changes, and there's going to be a different way to kind of crack the nut from both sides of the equation and really start to see real economic activity that comes from products and services, staples and companies mixed with these new business models we're seeing in the Web3 space, and it is going to change how we interact with these companies.
I think one of the things that has always been most exciting to me is the number of people who are participating in the system. Anybody here a founder or building a project right now, just out of curiosity? Okay. Not everybody's in the same vertical, and we're all not in anywhere near the same spaces, but Techstars being an incubator, right, an innovator, a place where people can come and get ideas and knowledge and help tailor the message, their business, their narrative, their numbers. How do you, as the twins, see your participation with Techstars as a way to invest in the community here in the state?
So I mean, we've got a prime example right here. Well, he was just over here, my man, Party Marty just left. But that is our mechanism for investing in tech companies. Not all of them operate in the Web3 space. We have some that we actually just did an activation with a really cool company going through this year's cohort called Virtual Tables that does digital autographs. They're going to be able to take an NFT, have in real time a player or an author or an actor autograph that NFT in real time, and then turn around and subsequently make that interaction. But that really is our mechanism for investing in tech, and we're looking for companies that can impact our business in any number of ways. It doesn't have to be on the baseball side of things. While we do have companies that are operating on our baseball operations side, we have companies that are touching our ticketing side of things. We as the Minnesota Twins, we're trying to push our brand beyond baseball, and we think that tech and venture investing is a really smart way to do that. I would say another thing that we're doing to do that is to try and engage in these new technologies that we think are going to ultimately impact our youngest fans in the future.
There we go.
Yeah, question for you. I'm a sports guy, EA Sports, but I'm a White Sox fan. So that's side. No, good. Okay. Like I said earlier.
So nice.
Right? Like I said earlier, people. I'm listening. Now, this is my fourth event, like I said, and this is a question for all three. Talent acquisition. When you have someone that wants to work for a specific company and put his or her skill sets on the table, how important is meritocracy in that selection process? And also from a networking standpoint, it seems like there are so many startup tech companies. It's kind of hard for me to choose because being this my fourth event, I'm actually interested in working for one of y'all. I see the heart and passion that you guys put into that, but that's often lost by having to decipher what Web3 is, what the metaverse is. There's so many different definitions that force us to almost have to rethink another skill set. Like when the cell phones first came out, I'm 41, bro. But in front of us, these are students. So there's a large generational gap that's going on with the selection process of new talent acquisitions. For example, you can have someone who's 45 years old who's run a company who's dealt with multi-million-dollar budgets, but they don't know anything about the blockchain. Whereas you have the college students who know what Web3 is, they can get you in and out of programs, they can work at a faster rate. How much value are they as opposed to us? Because now as a 41-year-old, I have to figure out how to learn their skill set on top of working my job, on top of paying my bills, on top of taking care of my kids. And I see a lot of that in conversation. So if you can answer this one question for me, talent acquisition. If you guys had an option to build something, to bring someone like me who knows enough to work for you, how would you get me to come? Or would you lean on the cheap labor side of it? I'm just being transparent because this is what I'm seeing. You know, I came into tech on the back end, not knowing anything about it, but then once I met Amir and Brian, I kept digging a little more, which I love being at these events because it's educating me. So how would you tell a 41-year-old guy who has an immaculate skill set who wants to come work for you, but without having to go through all the definition training and skill set training to fast track on where we need to go?
I'm gonna try something here real quick. How old were you when you started in VR?
How old? 33.
How old are you when you started into sports and et cetera?
29.
I think I'm gonna get the wrong answer to this one, but help me out.
26.
Okay. I'm gonna jump here real quick because I pride myself on recognizing the fact that I have a daughter. We're in tech. She's already behind because she's not a man. My daughter is Latina, but she is less than me, so maybe she doesn't fit with certain people. I've been code switching my whole life. Right now, Ahmad Mostak, who is the founder of Stability AI, Stable Diffusion that exists, one of the people building the largest language learning models currently was, last year, an Amazon warehouse worker. And he learned how to build in this space because the tooling is new. We don't have to speak the language of programming anymore because there are ways in which we can assemble tools with the knowledge that we have. This is the closest, in my opinion, we've ever come to equity. If you're willing to bust your fucking ass. Okay, work. Study, do, find whatever you have passion about in Google, metaverse, or blockchain, or crypto. I say this every time. I've only been around this space about 5 years. I remember Brooks was one of my first meetings in Minnesota, and he was so above my level in terms of his understanding, I was blown away. And I went back and I was very humbled, and I realized that you can research anything. You can learn how to program in languages now. There are low-code and no-code tools that exist. Anyone here in 18 months can be fucking dangerous in whatever you choose to do in this space. I'm not going to try to mince words here. We are in a paradigm shift. Every one of us now knows, 5 years ago, if I told anybody here in your job that your whole office could work from home and the business would not crumble, how many of you would have believed me? Remote workers, jerks. Okay? My family's been in manufacturing for years, and if you would have told, if my grandpa found out that people were working from home, he probably would have rolled over in his grave. But lazy people stay home, they don't work. We've proved that that's not the case. So if you're willing to put in the time and you can be smart and diligent, it doesn't matter your color, who you love, what you wear on your head, what you smoke, rate, or drink, because there's no drug tests in this business. Okay? There is nothing other than between you and an internet connection. And now that Stability AI is a 2 gig file, you can do it offline. So you don't have to have access to high-speed internet. This is the closest we've ever been to equity, in my opinion, as a blackish, brownish, whitish person in history. Don't be afraid.
And now for the white guy back. No, so I will echo that sentiment. My background is in accounting. I do not have a tech background. I just got bit by the blockchain bug 7 years ago. That evolved into me going to listen to podcasts, read articles, and eventually go to meetup groups in Chicago just like this. I remember watching, we had an event and Andreas Antonopoulos spoke. And it was like the most mesmerizing thing. He talked about blockchain compared to an analogy to Legos. And it was the most mesmerizing thing. And you had a cult following, and you had kind of this fervor of enthusiasm that was palpable, and I can feel it tonight as well. And at the end of the day, to your point, Rafael, this industry is being created by people who stay up late. All of the software and the tooling is open source, so you can learn it anywhere in the world. And so if you just want to learn it, there's no better experience than just hands-on keyboard, going through things, reading it, and understanding it. And it's open to everyone.
Agree with all that. One last piece I'll add to it, because I know we're running short of time here too, is that I think there is a lot of room in this world for folks that don't have the tech skills, that don't understand or want to or care to get into all of the deep tech, but they understand the problems and they understand the users. And and they can partner with the folks that understand the tech to apply the right tech to the right problems, then we're good to go. And I think we need a little bit more of that too, right?
That's literally my job. I am not a technical person. I am not a programmer. All I know is how to identify someone who's an expert and put them together with other experts and build stuff. Find somebody here tonight that's working in the space and build something. I have a question, because we have gone up and down, we've done the whole Gartner hype cycle in one evening. Aside from the hype, aside from what we're looking at in terms of whether you want to call it a crypto winter or a good place to begin, because if you start now and your investors come in and token, all you have to do is sit and wait, stuff goes up, and you look like you won as a founder. It's a great time to raise. There's money out there. I've seen deals being put together. What does it look like in, pick a timeline, say your timeline, 5 years, 15 years, give me something wild.
I'll say 10 years from now, I think none of the words that are being thrown out tonight are even going to be used, because all of this is going to be seamless, it's going to be integrated, it's going to be totally natural, it's going to be just how things are. It's going to be a perfect blend of the physical world with the digital overlay, and it's going to make sense because it's going to serve the human user at the end of the day. That's in 10 years. It's going to be seamless, it's going to be integrated. But in between now and then, it's going to be really, really messy, and I view it as my job as a non-technical person to play a role in making those messes by partnering with guys like Amir, by applying technologies like my man Josh here has created in ways that I think are going to have significant impacts on how humans experience the world in the future.
I got questions from the audience. We have one. Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna go to you because we're gonna be really diverse. We're not gonna go ladies first. In the back.
All right. So for all the parents here, anyone here parent? My kids, right? Looking at the future, I mean, the world that they're about to inherit, ChatGPT, stuff like that, couldn't even imagine. So from everyone up there, or really anyone in the room, what do you see as good communities, good ideas for preparing this next generation of kids to not just survive in this world, but thrive in it? Yeah, anything about that would be great.
Yeah, it's a personal one to me. And we personally, here at Red 5, we spend a lot of time with youth. The whole education system in this country has been headed towards a brick wall, cliff, insert whatever, for the last few decades. And the train is speeding up. And the wall isn't moving, so it's going to be an interesting next decade here. I think for us, the biggest thing is making sure that we're providing equitable access and equitable education to these tools. And then I have faith that the rest will take care of itself, frankly.
I'm a guy who spends a lot of time hearing what's going on all over the globe in exponential tech, and my kid is 3 and not housebroken. I have to think much further than me. It's 40 years old, maybe another 40 years, maybe 10, who knows. If I can teach my kid to be kind, and I can teach my kid to be curious, and I can teach her that curiosity can build competence. From competence, she can gain confidence, and with that, she's unstoppable. So if you can build curious kids, this knows everything. You don't have to have a PhD to know anything anymore. It's all here. How are you assembling this knowledge, these tools, these pieces to solve tools where people are? In our house, we say, where are my feet? Information is great because we can depersonalize and communicate at a distance, but it matters when I connect with someone and hear you and meet you and work with you, because your safety and security is directly corollary to mine. We need neighbors as neighbors, and if kids can go out and figure out what's cool about nature, they can go in and they can recognize, as Jeffrey West says, and scale the ability for tech and nature to mimic, right? Entropy. The opposite of entropy is biology, right? We are growing things. These kids are going to build the Legos of what their future is going to look like, and we're going to have no clue. Curious and kindness. That's it. One more question? Anybody? Tiffany?
I got it.
Go.
I I think that Minnesota Blockchain Initiative is the perfect hub for blockchain. How do you as panelists see how we can increase building MBI up as a hub?
I think it's going to take a village. I think it's everyone in this room personally, whether it's time, money, or anything else. Growing the connection we have amongst community members, I think, is number one, because community members is what the value of an blockchain is. And then I think it's going to be, advanced efforts figuring out how to engage corporates, how to engage sponsorships to show what the mission is and then what we're going to do. And I do believe 2023 we'll start to see that. And I can't make promises, but I will do everything in my power to bring Deloitte along for the journey, because I see the passion in this room, I see the passion of everyone here, and I think it creates a snowball effect if we have enough energy, enough enthusiasm, and enough purpose for what we're doing in Library.
I want to ask, I'm on the board as well.
That question was for everybody.
Anybody else want to comment on
No,
how we can?
For him and for him.
Okay, thanks.
She's calling me out. She wants me to answer too. No, I think, I'm in a unique position in that I work for a sports team that has a massive audience. I'm fortunate to have a platform to be able to use that has a lot of eyeballs on it, to be able to introduce people to technology, to be able to introduce and lend credibility to organizations like Minnesota Blockchain. So that to me is part of it, is getting organizations that have that platform, that have the eyeballs of people who are not as deep into the business as we are, as deep into the tech as we are, to use those eyeballs to raise visibility for what's happening in the community in blockchain.
I also sometimes like to step back and level set. Like, how many other rooms in the world right now are there 100 people sitting around chopping it up about emerging technology and talking about their cool projects? Right? Probably none. So hats off to you all for being here. I think that's critically important. I think that Minneapolis is an interesting place when it comes to innovation and technology. If you park med tech to the side, I guess. We have a culture that shies away from failure in a way that the coasts have a very different approach to, and I think that holds us back tremendously, because I think we have a lot of really smart people. We have a lot of people that love to collaborate and feed off each other, a lot of innovative people, but we have this weird resistance to failure. And so I think culturally, if we can continue to cultivate that and make it okay to try things and fail, we're going to put ourselves in a position to not follow the rest of the states around the country, but actually lead. So in addition to everything these two fine gentlemen just said, that's kind of just a broader observation about our culture here in Minnesota that I think sucks and needs to change if we want to get anywhere.
Alright guys, if anybody has any other questions, hit somebody up in the audience. A lot of us are familiar, we can point you in the directions of the right people. We've got funders, founders, lawyers, etc. Please do me a favor, this is the one thing I say all the time. If you met someone tonight, follow up. Grow your network. Become a node. Only way we can build things is as a team. Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it.